Alexandra Eala, the rising tennis star from the Philippines, faced a difficult afternoon at the 2025 Suzhou WTA 125 quarterfinals, falling to Viktorija Golubic in a 6-1, 6-2 defeat. It was a tough result, one that raised genuine questions and sparked important conversations about the next chapter of her development as a professional athlete. In this video, we are going to take an honest, in-depth look at exactly what happened in that quarterfinal matchup against Golubic, examine what Eala's emotional response on court revealed about her as a competitor, and explore what the road forward looks like for one of the most talented young players in women's tennis today. 'Cause here is the thing, one bad day does not define a career. How you respond to it does. The match itself, the scoreline tells a stark story. 6-1, 6-2. There was no hiding from it and no softening the reality of what unfolded. Golubic, a seasoned professional with years of high-pressure match experience, was simply the better player on that particular day. She neutralized Eala's offensive weapons early, dictated the pace of the rallies, and gave the young Filipino very few opportunities to settle into her natural game. What was perhaps most striking was the visible emotional toll the match took on Eala. Her frustration was transparent, her body language heavy, and the moment she stepped off the court, the emotional weight of the defeat was evident for everyone watching. It was raw and honest, and in many ways deeply human. Anyone who has ever felt the crushing pressure of performing in a high-stakes moment and come up short will recognize exactly what she was experiencing. But here is the critical perspective. Vulnerability in defeat is not weakness. It is evidence that the outcome mattered, that she cares deeply. And athletes who care deeply about losing are invariably the ones who do the necessary work to ensure it happens less and less over time. Context matters to understand this loss properly. You have to understand the full arc of what Alexandra Eala has already accomplished at a remarkably young age. Her breakthrough came in 2021 when she won the Australian Open girls doubles title alongside Priscilla Hon, making history as the first Filipino to win a Grand Slam title of any kind. Since then, she has built steadily and methodically, recording strong performances at multiple WTA events, including a memorable semi-final appearance at the 2023 Singapore Open in both singles and doubles. She has earned recognition as one of the brightest young talents on the entire WTA Tour, attracted major sponsorship partnerships with Nike, Wilson, and Uniqlo, and captured the hearts of millions of fans across the Philippines and throughout the global Filipino diaspora, who regard her as a genuine national hero in the making. None of that disappears because of one difficult quarterfinal afternoon. What this loss does, however, is reveal something honest and important about where her game currently stands and what areas demand focused attention as she continues her development. The critics who pointed to this match as evidence that her mental game still needs sharpening are not wrong, and crucially, they are not saying anything that Eala herself would likely dispute. She has always shown a mature capacity for honest self-assessment. The controversy around mental toughness, the honest conversation that this result opens up, centers on mental fortitude under pressure, and it is worth having directly rather than dancing around it. Some analysts and pundits have noted that in high-pressure moments, particularly when matches turn difficult and the momentum shifts away from her, Eala has occasionally struggled to recalibrate and reset emotionally. The Suzhou match against Golubic was an example of that. Her inability to adjust tactically when the match began slipping away, and her visible emotional struggle to stay composed in the face of mounting adversity, raised fair questions about the psychological side of her game. Mental toughness is not a fixed quality that players either have or do not have. It is a skill, one that is developed through repeated exposure to exactly these kinds of difficult, uncomfortable moments and through deliberate work with coaches and sports psychologists. The greatest players in tennis history, Serena Williams, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, all went through periods earlier in their careers where composure under pressure was something they had to consciously build and develop. It did not arrive fully formed. For Eala, sharpening her mental game, learning to compartmentalize in the middle of a match, to reset between points rather than carrying the weight of previous errors, and to make tactical adjustments when her primary game plan stops working, will be absolutely central to her continued growth. The other controversy that surrounds her is the sheer volume of media attention and brand obligations that come with being a high-profile public figure at such a young age. The Nike partnership, the Wilson deal, the Uniqlo sponsorship, the relentless social media scrutiny, and the enormous expectations of a nation watching her every move. It is a remarkable amount of noise for a young athlete to filter through while simultaneously trying to compete at the highest level. Some observers argue this external pressure has at times distracted from the core work of improving her game. Others maintain that these partnerships are a natural and necessary part of building a sustainable professional career. Both perspectives contain genuine merit. What matters most is how Eala herself manages and protects her competitive focus within this environment. And by all accounts, she is working consciously and deliberately to do exactly that. Who is Alexandra Eala? To truly appreciate the resilience this young woman carries, you have to understand where she came from. Born in Manila and raised in a sports-oriented family, Eala grew up with a father who had played tennis himself and who became her earliest coach, instilling in her from the very beginning the discipline, the work ethic, and the deeply ingrained competitive drive that would eventually carry her to the world stage. She showed exceptional promise from her earliest junior years, accumulating titles and steadily building toward a professional career she had clearly been preparing for since childhood. But her path has never been without obstacles. The financial demands of pursuing a professional tennis career are substantial, particularly for players developing outside the traditional tennis powerhouse nations. The physical and emotional toll of competing week after week, year after year, across the globe is immense. And carrying the symbolic weight of being the first genuine world-class tennis talent her country has produced in a generation adds a layer of pressure that very few athletes ever have to navigate. Through all of it, her determination has never wavered. Every loss, every setback, every moment of adversity has been metabolized and converted into fuel. That is not something you can teach. It is a fundamental part of who she is. What comes next? The question after a result like this is always the same. How does she respond? If her career history provides any guide, the answer is clear. This is not the first time Eala has absorbed a difficult loss and had to confront hard truths about her game. Each previous time, she has come back with sharpened focus, improved execution, and a renewed competitive edge. There is every reason to believe the pattern will hold. The immediate priorities are identifiable. The mental and emotional side of her game needs continued, targeted development, particularly around in-match composure when facing adversity. Her tactical adaptability, her ability to problem-solve mid-match when Plan A stops working, is another area that this loss brought into sharp focus. And managing the weight of external expectations and media noise, while maintaining the freedom and joy that originally drove her to pick up a racket, will remain an ongoing discipline. But here is the most important thing to keep in mind. Alexandra Eala is still young. She is still developing. And she is doing so on a stage where every match, every victory, and yes, every difficult loss, is being watched and analyzed by millions of people. The fact that she has gotten this far, achieved this much, and continues to push forward despite the immensity of what surrounds her is itself a testament to the depth of her character. Her supporters across the Philippines and around the world continue to believe in her potential, and they do so not despite the setbacks, but because of how she has always responded to them. One match does not define a career. One bad afternoon does not erase the Australian Open title, the Miami Open run, the barrier after historical barrier that she has knocked down along the way. What it does is provide a clear and honest marker of what still needs to be built, and Alexandra Eala has never been afraid of the building process. The road ahead will not be easy, but then again it never has been, and she has never needed it to be.